Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back. Today we're going to be focusing on doing bubble graffiti letters. We're going to do the word courage, and we're going to start off with some blue first. I'm just taking my time outlining all of the letters. I went ahead and pre-drew everything out with a pencil, just so I can be able to make sure everything is fitting with the perspective that I want. It's so important to make sure that your letters are fitting on the surface. A lot of times with bubble or graffiti letters, it's easy to make things too big to where they're literally falling off the sides of the artwork. So you want to be able to make sure that you come in, find your middle, and then go ahead and start designing and laying everything out. So usually I'll start off with something like one of the main colors that I'll be doing the airbrush design in. Sometimes I'll be covering these colors up, so you don't want to get too wrapped up in what colors you use. Just make sure that it's light enough that when you start putting other colors over top of it, that it blends very well. So I'm coming in again, tightening up some of the blue areas, making sure that everything is fitting correctly, and just kind of focusing in on how all the letters and everything is coming together to be able to make one unified piece of art. So important. So the next thing is I want to come in and start adding some shadows and fades inside of the lettering. This is one of the techniques that a lot of artists run into, as far as just making sure that you build your colors up and you don't go too dark too soon. So it's important that you also do your drop shadows and get all your shadowing design concepts out of the way so you don't have to think. So I'm doing a shadow on one side of the lettering and just making sure that everything is falling into line where the shadow goes. I'm coming in and fading some of the blue in the inside of each letter, making sure that I go around the edge of the letter and not fill the letter in fully. It's one of those things to where you don't want to make things look too muddy or too dark. So take your time, fade around the edges of the inside of the letter, leaving just a little bit of white around the edges, just to be able to give a little definition in your lettering technique. The airbrush that I'm using is the Moja airbrush. This is an airbrush that I designed. Great tool for doing t-shirts and different things on this level. So I mixed up some blue, and now we're just going ahead and making sure that everything is fading effectively. I'm taking my time, darkening things up a little bit at a time instead of darkening everything up real fast, giving it a muddy look. So we just want to make sure everything stays clean, and you just take your time using those dagger strokes to be able to fade up. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take a little bit of yellow, clean out my airbrush in between, and I want to go ahead and fade some yellow into this graphic just to give it a little bit of color coordination. And it's also going to fade over top of the blue, so it's going to give us a green kind of look. So I'm just going to take that yellow and just kind of fade over top of the blue, doing a nice gradient, making sure that it's not too dark too fast, building the colors up in a nice gradient flow and feel. and just making sure that I'm enjoying it and having fun with it. This is one of those times when you're airbrushing where you can just kind of go with the flow. It's a light color, so it's very difficult to mess up, and I don't mind a little bit of overspray, so when I come over top of it with my black, it tightens everything up and gives it a really nice solid look. So I'm just gonna fade that yellow up a little bit and just let it do its thing. Okay, the next thing that I'll be doing is taking my airbrush and doing a stippling technique. I'm using a piece of wood and holding the airbrush so the wood is becoming a tool where the paint is actually splattering off of the tip of the wood and giving a splatter look. This is a technique that I use a lot of time when I'm doing granite or concrete or wanting things to kind of look like they're breaking out of stone. So I lay that technique down first, then I'm going around the edges, giving it a three-dimensional rock look where it's giving a perspective of the wall breaking out and having the words in the inside of it. As you notice with the C and the courage, I made sure that the wall was breaking over top of the C. So these are just different things that you want to just kind of look at when you're designing things out, however you want the concept or however you want the shadows and things to be able to look. I'm also taking my black, going around the edges of the courage, making sure that the lines are real nice and clean so I can be able to come back over it and do a nice drop shadow as well. If you notice, I'll constantly be using my other finger to get off any kind of tip dry residue that's on the end of my airbrush on my tip. So as you can see me cleaning that out here and there. It's very important to be able to make sure that that tip stays nice and clean. You don't want any paint to get stuck onto it. And nowadays, I've been doing it for so long, it's just kind of like a force of habit. Going around those edges with the black, taking my time. You don't want to rush these processes. You just want to take your time and make sure everything is a consistent line around everything, so it's just a nice consistent flow. Okay, I'm gonna come back in and darken up the drop shadow. Give it a really nice clean edge. Okay, here I'm coming in right now, doing some effects, some shading techniques to be able to make the letters pop out a little bit more. This is like a technique where I'm just using some dagger strokes. And one thing about the airbrush is you can mimic distance very easily by just doing some shading and some different effects around lettering or whatever your artwork is. So I'm just taking some dagger strokes, doing a couple distress techniques around the edges of the lettering to just kind of give it a little bit of definition and make it pop. I'll go a little bit darker just to be able to show that the graphics are in the back of the lettering and not over top of the lettering. So this is just a technique that I like to use to just show some definition, show some distance and some depth inside the work. I'm coming back over, adding a couple different little design techniques with some swirls and different things, just to kind of give a little bit of action and movement, little starburst, little blings, just to kind of give things a little bit more excitement to go along with it. Then I'm going to come back in, go ahead and shade a little bit more around the edges of the rock to just kind of give it a little bit more definition as well. And then I'm going to come back in, add some cracks. I'm just going to take my time, go around these edges, make sure everything is aligned up dimensionally, making sure that all of the shading is done on the right side, making sure that everything is just kind of laid out correctly. So you can go a little bit darker around the edges as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of depth, so you know that the wall or the rocks are sitting over top of certain parts of the lettering as well. So I just got some black and just kind of fading, darkening certain areas up, lightening certain areas up, and making certain areas pop. This is the time where you can go a little too dark too soon, so just take your time and make sure that you're kind of going on your own pace and not rushing this process. This is where that trigger control comes in, and that distance. So you just want to do your shading and making sure everything is real nice and shaded. Alright guys, we got the word courage, we got the 3-dimensional brick or wall breaking through it, 2 colors, yellow, blue, and we was able to get everything done, guys. Appreciate you guys. See you guys on the next one. Bye.